Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. I'm your host, Dave Mabel. Thanks for tuning in. Today's guest spent more than 15 years road racing and a little mountain biking at the highest level. We're talking Tour de France, Giro d'Italia, and Vuelta a España. And as a hammer on the time trial bike, he not only took home the bronze medal in the Beijing Olympic time trial, but it helped him win races like the Tour de Suisse, U.S. Pro Cycling Challenge, and the Tour of California. And while we do talk about some of his memories from those days, we also talk about the event that bears his name, Levi's Gran Fondo. Started in 2011, it was one of the, if not the, first of its kind in the United States, and it has attracted riders from all over the world. Today, its longest option, the 138-mile Growler, has become one of the most hotly contested road races in the U.S. and now boasts a prize purse rivaling that of every major one-day race in the world. Yep, you heard me right. And in its 15th edition, both the men's and women's elite races will be streamed live and broadcast around the world. The only major U.S. road race to be shown live since the days of races like the Tour of California and the U.S. Pro Cycling Challenge. I'm excited for the return of big-time live racing in the U.S., and I am thrilled to have Levi on to talk about it. So I hope you enjoy this conversation and hope you tune in to levisgranfondo.com midday on April 19th to check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, Levi Leipheimer. Levi Leipheimer, what a treat to have you on Bike Talk with Dave. I know we're here to talk about your Gran Fondo, and you've got some super exciting news that, honestly, I jumped all over when I saw that you guys were doing this, streaming your big race, the Growler, as part of the Gran Fondo. But it's also just a freaking treat to talk to you. I definitely grew up cycling and enjoying your era of professional cycling. I mean, I was a big fan. I was racing back in the days when you guys were over in Europe, and back then we had to wait till Velo News came out, right? Or Winning Magazine to find out what was going on. But
Winning was before my time. Come on now.
Was it?
Yeah, I grew up, I had Winning. That was Hamston in the Giro, when he won the Giro. That was that era.
Yeah, you're right.
Velo News was certainly my era.
Yeah. Yep. Do you have any old copies?
Velo News was online. Cycling News was online for most of my career. So.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I guess I'm dating myself before the advent of the whole internet.
Too much.
Anyway, so, dude, you've got a great, certainly you're one of the kind of the legends of the sport, and you continue to stay involved, which I think is cool, but started racing professionally in the kind of the mid to late 90s through the early 20 teens, Tour of California winner, U.S. Pro Challenge, which I loved. I thought that was a cool race. And certainly, I don't know, how many times did you escort somebody to the finish line of the Tour de France while they were wearing yellow? How many winners did you work for?
Well, I was never on Lance's Tour de France winning teams.
Oh, okay. You rode with him quite a bit.
Yeah, I was on U.S. Postal for my first 2 years in Europe when he was winning the Tour, but I was not on the Tour de France team. So I guess Alberto Contador twice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's that like, shepherding a dude to the line?
It's everybody has their roles on the team, and there were guys who really were, like, let's say, in the trenches day in, day out, doing a lot more work specifically for him than I was. I was more of the the guy that was there in case of emergency, like in the mountains. His first Tour de France win, it was kind of a crazy battle between him and Michael Rasmussen, and I was in the mix as well. In fact, in Paris, Alberto was first and I was third, so we kind of killed it that Tour de France, because he won a stage, I won a stage. We won the team classification, first and third on the podium. So, I can't say that I directly helped him as much as some of the other guys, because that's just the way that the roles go. I was there in the mountains with him, and for sure there were critical times when I stepped in, but it was, percentage-wise, it was much smaller than guys like George and Thomas Weitkus, who were just, pulling on the flats for hours and hours.
That's just got to be brutal. That's hard to even imagine, just sitting up there at whatever speed you guys are going for that
Mm-hmm.
long. I'm curious, and this is old fan guy question. You're sitting in third, your teammate is in the lead. Like, are you even trying to maintain third, or is it just kind of happenstance that you happen to be there escorting your leader when you are in the mountains? Especially, you guys have a successful time trial. Is it kind of happenstance? It's like, holy crap, I'm freaking on the podium, or are you like, okay,
it's
dude, like,
it's always happenstance. I think anything that happens in pro cycling it's not happenstance, but one rider. The race is so much bigger than just one rider, and you can't really control the race. It's pretty difficult, and so you either have good legs or you don't. A really good example of that is Alberto and I were first and second in the Vuelta Tour of Spain in 2008, and there was an internal team call about, okay, Alberto needs to win this, because we were very close. In fact, without the time bonuses, I would have won.
oh wow,
Because I actually beat him in both time trials, and he was able to edge me out in some of the mountain stages. But yeah, I mean, there was an actually difficult call to make about who's going to sacrifice for who.
huh? Wow, were you saddened by that call?
It's mixed emotions. I think I can totally understand that he had just won the Giro earlier in the year. He'd won the Tour de France the year before. There's no question he was a much better cyclist than I was. Maybe not much better.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, I don't think you can use the word much.
Yeah, he was better. There's no question. He's one of the greats. And so we were doing the Tour of Spain, and if he won that Tour of Spain, he was going to become the youngest rider to win all three, and he did it in the shortest period of time. So I can totally understand that, but yeah, that was my chance to win a Grand Tour. So it just didn't work out that way. I'm totally fine with it. It's kind of one of those things like, well, I could have won that tour, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen at night anymore. I can tell you that.
That's fair. Did it keep
Not
you
that
up
it
at
ever-
night then?
No. Yeah.
I'm curious, what is I'll say Grand Tour, you've done all three. What's a Grand Tour story you would tell your grandkids in 20 years? What's something in your memory that still stands out even yet today?
Wow, that's a good question, because there's a lot of them, and I'm sure I've forgotten a lot of them. But
You're not that old. You're not. Come on.
well, I mean, so I was 13 years old when I first really got into cycling, and that was in the 1987 Tour de France, when Stephen Roche and Pedro Delgado had an epic battle, one of the best Tour de France's ever. And I had it on a VHS tape, and I watched that thing so much that the tape became snowy, degraded. And so, I think maybe the most, romantic story I could tell is swinging onto the Champs-Élysées, my first Tour de France, 2002, with Rabobank, 8th place in the GC, which is great for your first Tour de France. And, you're dead tired. you're so dead and you can't wait for the thing to be over with. You're just in so much pain, especially off the bike. You're in a lot of pain. But then you swing onto the Champs-Élysées and it just this overwhelming, emotional, euphoric feeling was pretty indescribable. There's not a lot of words to go along with it. So that's a good one that I could tell over and over.
So 20 and a half days behind you, and you swing onto the Champs-Élysées, and you feel like you just got started, like it's the first day on a bike.
Well, you definitely feel, like I said, there's a euphoric feeling, and then you realize everybody else feels that, and it's like we're going as fast, the fastest we did the entire 3 weeks, and then you're like, it's short-lived, you know, you're like, oh, Champs-Élysées, this is great, this is my lifelong dream come true, and then it's like, oh no, please slow down, this hurts bad.
Yeah, and then your ears start bleeding and your eyes start bugging out.
Exactly. And then you're counting the laps down. You're like, 3 more laps. Like, don't get dropped on the Champs, like at the very end.
Hang on for dear life.
Hang on for dear life.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
Then, you know, you've been looking forward to the thing, and this happened every Tour de France. You, especially in the third week, you can't wait for it to be over because you're in a lot of pain. And as soon as it's over, you're sad. You're just like, it's such a deflating moment because it's over and you wish it kept going, even though for the last week, 2 weeks, you just couldn't wait for it to be over.
Do you ever get overtaken by emotions?
You know, I think when I was younger, I had this ability, I think like a lot of people do, to sort of suppress things in order to move forward, you know, because sometimes it can be overwhelming, which obviously is not the most healthy thing to do, but at the time it was necessary. So, and I saw that a lot with, you know, people at that level, whether it's sports or business, if you want to get the job done and achieve the goal that you've had in your mind, sometimes you just have to like jump over fear or sadness or whatever it is.
Just kind of put it in your back pocket and move on to the next.
Yeah, but you know, I think as I've gotten older, I realize that can catch up with you.
Yeah, for sure. You raced with a ton of teams. You mentioned U.S. Postal, Rabobank. I'm going to say it wrong. Gerolsteiner.
Perfect.
Was
you
it?
Nailed. Yeah, you nailed it.
I appreciate that. Discovery, Astana, Radio Shack. In fact, I think you raced with a couple of Iowa dudes. At least they were on. Jason McCartney was Discovery and Radio Shack dude. He's a good Iowa boy.
One of my favorite teammates ever.
Oh, why is that?
Oh, he's just a great guy. Super down to earth. Great teammate. You know, sacrificed himself 100% for everyone that had a chance to win. I roomed with him a lot. I just loved the guy. Couldn't say enough good things about him.
You know, we helped him get in shape because we would put on some races here in Des Moines, which he lived in Iowa City, 100 miles away. He would freaking ride over to the race, do the race, win the race, and then ride home.
Yeah.
So we're responsible for how good he was.
Yeah, he was a tough guy.
Yeah, no doubt. And then Matthew Boucher came out of racing, running cross country at Luther College and hopped on a bike and was pretty darn good. Have any memories of Matthew?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. He actually lived with me in Girona in my house for a little while.
Oh, no
because,
way.
He came on to Radio Shack, and you know, I remember how hard it was for me when I went to Europe and was trying to get my feet underneath me, and you know, you got to find housing and you got to focus on your training and your racing. It's really not easy. You're in a place that you're not familiar with, and so it was my way of kind of paying it forward to try to help him out. And I have a great memory from Matthew in Tour of California. It's 2011. Chris Horner and I were first and second, and I really wanted to win the Mount Baldy stage. Chris Horner was in yellow, so technically I had to work for him. But I knew that if Matthew was strong enough, and if he could be the last guy pulling before I had to take over. And if he got rid of enough guys, then I would be able to win the stage because I knew Chris would give it to me. And I told Matthew that the night before. I was like, if I win tomorrow, it's going to be because of you. And he took on that pressure, and he did a fantastic job. And when he pulled off, it was, I believe, only Lawrence Tendam was left with Chris and I. And then I was able to just ride Lawrence off the wheel. And so Chris and I rode to the finish together. So I owe that victory to Matthew.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Lawrence Tendam is that's no small feat to ride him off your wheel. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was on a good day.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any bikes from the era? Have you kept any of those?
Yeah, I do. A good friend of mine, he he no longer owns them, but he had 3 bike shops in Santa Rosa where I lived for most of my career. And I still think hanging on the ceiling there is the time trial bike I won my 3rd Tour California. It's painted in yellow and blue University of California, Berkeley colors.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some cool features on it, like the bear and some other stuff. My Olympic bronze medal time trial bike is there. I think one of my Tour de France bikes. And then here in my house, I have this Trek Top Fuel that I won Leadville on, that they did a custom paint job on.
Oh, nice.
Which it's really funny to look at because it's 26-inch wheels.
Right.
It's a two by, super narrow bars, long stem. Just when I get on it, I'm like, how in the hell did I ride this thing?
Amen, brother. What year was that? When did you win Leadville?
2010.
2010. I think I was done then. My wife and I did Leadville 4 times on tandem.
Oh.
And
wow. You're still married?
Listen, man, we did Schwamigan in 2002, and people were like taking bets on whether we would file divorce papers at the end of the race.
Yeah.
And like at the finish line, we signed up for next year, and we've been doing Schwamigan ever since. Leadville, we do all kinds of stuff on our tandem. We're heading down next week to do 70 miles of rattlesnake gravel grind. We love that thing, and she's darn good at that.
Wow.
But yeah, things have certainly changed. We did it with certainly Dave Weens, and for sure the first year Lance went, and then the first time Lance won, I think. And one of the years Landis was there. So, I mean, that's when we were there. And I will say this about Armstrong. We're climbing Columbine, and at the bottom of Columbine, I don't know if you can even remember what it was like, but we sure do. It's ingrained in our brain because we're going so slow. But it's like 9 miles of gravel road before you hit kind of the double track, the loose stuff that we definitely pushed up. And we're crawling up that gravel road, 11 switchbacks. We hear, like, it sounds like a jet engine coming down from above us. Mm-hmm. And freaking Armstrong, Dave Weens, Leipheimer, or not Leipheimer, that's you, Landis, both Weens and Armstrong, as they are flying down at 1,000 miles an hour, yell, "Go tandem!"
Nice.
Landis did not.
He was too busy chasing.
He was too busy chasing, but that's a memory we'll always have. But
I do remember that downhill. I was with Jeremy Horgan-Kobelski. He was the U.S. cross-country champion at the time. And I remember I let him lead because it was nerve-wracking.
You wanted a good wheel?
Towards you guys at that jet engine speed. And I was like, well, he can clear the way. I'll let him plow everyone else out of the way.
Yeah, that was a smart move. 2010, so Armstrong had ridden up Powerline. Did you ride up Powerline?
I did, yeah.
Attaboy.
That's where I ended up dropping Jeremy.
Yeah, nice. Nobody until the Armstrong, and Dave Weens tells a story coming up to Powerline, and Armstrong says to Weens, and this is me telling this story fourth hand or whatever, but Armstrong's like, "So what do we do up here?" And Weens is like, Well, we walk. Armstrong looks over at him and he's like, not this year. And they both rode it. But that's a tough climb.
Yeah, it's super tough. I mean, at that altitude, it just kills you.
Yep. Yep. For sure. All right, we got to get to your race here, which is neither a Grand Tour nor a 100-mile mountain bike race. How's that for a segue? But I think this is 15th year of Levi's Grand Fondo. Does that sound about right?
I always lose track because we missed a couple editions for COVID. Started in 2009. I believe you're right. I believe this is the 15th edition.
Okay, cool. So 17th year, 15th edition, or some kind of math like that.
Yeah, right.
Where'd that come from? Why? Why'd you want to do that? Why'd you want to be a part of this?
Well, so I've told this story a lot, but as a professional cyclist, professional athlete, you're very self-centered. You receive a ton of support from people. There's countless people that helped me along my way to reach the success that I did, and I always felt grateful for that, but it kind of weighed on me a little bit that I wasn't really paying it back. I mean, I guess when I look back on it, I was by, achieving what I did, and they all got to be a part of that, and I really appreciate everything they did. But I wanted to be able to pay it back, or at least pay it forward. And so, there was just this one day where the light bulb went off in my head about the Grand Fondos that happened in Italy and how there weren't any in the U.S. And where I lived in Sonoma County was just the perfect place. We were close to a major metropolitan area, the Bay Area there. Arguably, I mean, my opinion, it's the best road cycling in the United States. The roads are incredible. That's why I chose to live there and train there. And so I wanted to share what it was like to be in a big production of an event on these beautiful roads with as many people as I could. And so it was kind of a perfect storm, perfect place, perfect timing. I just won my third Tour of California. People knew who I was. They were watching me. And I met Carlos Perez with Bike Monkey, who's just been, I couldn't have done it without anyone else. He's just put his heart and soul into this. And we've created something that I'm extremely proud of. I think we've got to this point now where we have this really amazing, sustainable synergy of people who love to ride their bike. They can do any route, from the family route, which is free. They can do the Piccolo, which is, 20 miles, all the way up to the Growler, which is 135 miles, 13,500 feet of climbing. And we give back to charity. At-risk youth is our mission, to give them a chance. We work with, like, a couple beneficiaries we work with is a therapy farm near, it's in Sebastopol in Sonoma County, where these kids can come and work with farm animals, kids that have a history of abuse in their life. And so it's a way to break that cycle. We've been able to raise $3.5 million for at-risk youth over the last 15 years. So we have this event where, all ages, all abilities can participate, help us raise money for a great cause. And now we have this elite aspect where they can also come and watch these people, like Pete Stetina and Heather Jackson, watch them compete, and hopefully they're inspired by that. And, those people are, they're really helping to make this event happen. And so it's just this, I don't know, I'm really proud of like I said, the ecosystem that we've created.
How many people would you say show up on their bikes that day?
Well, in the beginning, it was the hot new thing. It was kind of like what we saw 5 years ago with gravel. It exploded. We went, first year was 3,500 people, second year was 5,000, third year was 7,500. And then, Grand Fondos popped up everywhere, which I think was understandable and something to be proud of, because I think we sort of inspired that. So then we saw participation wane, and we tried to shift, our focus. And these days it's around 2,000 people, but I think we offer a much more intimate experience because of that.
Mm,
And when it was 7,500 people, it was crowded.
for sure.
It was super exciting, super fun, electric, but it was very crowded.
I believe it. I was going to ask if there was a limit. It's in Windsor, California, and I was going to ask if there was a limit that Windsor could handle, but 2,000 seems like any decent sized town would be able to absorb 2,000 people, but and treat them well, if you will.
Yeah.
Describe the weekend, because it's not just a day.
Yeah, so it starts off on Thursday evening. We have a fundraising dinner for the King Ridge Foundation, which I said gives at-risk youth a chance. And so it's a pretty intimate dinner. 70 people, a few athletes are attending. A little bit of entertainment, great food, great venue, and a lot of really cool items to auction off. Usually we have like a S-Works tarmac there for people to bid on, for example, vacation packages. The next day, the festival opens, which is there on the town green in Windsor with just a beautiful, huge lawn, trees, iconic wine country square of a town with old school Victorian buildings around. We have tons of booths with food, cycling products, non-endemic sponsors that are there selling their products, live music. We have registration happens that day on Friday. There's some pre-rides happening. I know that Paw, Wahoo, and Specialized have teamed up to host a pre-ride for anyone. They're welcome to join. It's free. Shake out the legs after some travel or whatnot. And then, Saturday is the big day. So the elite men they'll go first. They start at 7:30. The elite women start 4 or 5 minutes after them, 7:35. And then everyone else, all routes start at 8 a.m., like a classic Gran Fondo style mass participation event for, like I said, for all ages and abilities. And, I think we have, 7 different routes to choose from. Families ride free on the family route, that is. And under 23 riders can choose any route to ride for free. My favorite route is called the Geysers. It's just kind of the perfect day out. It's like 80 miles, 4,000 feet of climbing, one big climb, not too difficult, beautiful views of the Sonoma Valley, and you can see all the vineyards, you can see the ocean, experience a little bit of the redwoods, and get back in time to the festival where I mentioned that all those booths are with food, live music, beer, wine, and we're going to have a big screen TV so that when the live coverage of the Growler race starts to come on, you can sit there, eat, drink, watch the race happen, and watch the race finish live. We'll have our commentators, Matt Stevens and Hannah Walker, there at the festival. They'll be commentating in a booth. You can watch them commentate. It's just going to be a really great day.
Sounds like a great event. Great weekend.
Yeah.
And it took you a while to use the word wine.
Well, Sonoma County is known for more than just wine. I mean, of course, it's what Sonoma County is known for, but we also try to promote the fact that, it's like wine, but beer is right here. We got Russian River. They've I don't know how many years in a row they've made the world's best beer, Pliny the Younger. But there's tons of breweries. Barrel Brothers. I think we've got Best Day, which is non-alcoholic. So Sonoma County has a lot going for it. You can go hike in the redwoods. There's a big health and wellness scene. We have spas everywhere. So a lot of things to do for people outside of the event. Like they'll come early, a few days early. They can stay a day or two afterwards and do all kinds of activities. I mean, Sonoma County is, it's for everyone, and there's tons of stuff to do. So I don't want to just focus on wine because if people get, this idea that it's just wine country, it is a lot more than that.
Well, I do associate the word Sonoma with wine, so I'm glad you broadened my vision of Sonoma County. Where do people come from Like, how are you getting people from all over the states, all over the world?
Yes, yes. It would be interesting for us to compile, and I'm sure Carlos has this data, but to compile the last 15 years and count every country. I think that'd be, not to put him in front of the computer anymore because he does all of the programming. He spends 10, 12 hours a day in front of the computer, but if I could get him to like put a flag on the website of every country that's ever participated, I think it would be pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. Do you invite some of your old cycling friends?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like who? Who's come?
Well, I've had a lot of teammates over the years. Jason McCartney, we were talking about
Attaboy.
him. He's done it. I'm blanking at the moment, but a lot of Kristen Armstrong. She's been there a
Oh,
bunch.
cool.
Yeah,
The,
yeah. And then Patrick Dempsey, Barry Bonds, all the
oh, cool.
celebrities that love to ride bikes. They've all participated.
Huh. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, you talked a little bit about the elite field, and you're going to stream it, which I think is cool. But you've also got, and I think this is kind of interesting because we're talking about pavement. We're on
Hmm.
pavement here, right? This isn't a
Yeah,
gravel.
it's Sonoma County pavement, though. I mean, it's adventurous.
Is it adventurous?
Yeah, I'd say a 28C tire is the minimum. I think last year a lot of guys were on 30C tires because we like to refer to it as single track for the road bike. It's very narrow, very technical. Sonoma County gets a lot of rain in the winters, and there's 1,360 miles of road in the county, so it's pretty tough to maintain everything. So what I'm getting at is, you got to ride heads up and be agile on your bike, which I think is part of the charm. But
Oh, for sure, for
fair
sure.
warning.
I know you've described your course as European like. Trying to think of some of the races that you named that it's similar to, but some of the Belgian classics, the Northern Europe classics.
On paper, I think with distance and elevation, it's around Liège, Bastogne, Liège, but the climbs are actually much longer than they are at Liège. So maybe it's closer to like Lombardy.
Hmm, very cool.
But yeah, on paper, it's as hard as any one-day event in the world. There's
And
no
you get
question.
a interesting when I looked at who you, I don't know if they're already signed up or if you're expecting some of these folks, but like Keegan Swenson and you mentioned Peter Stetna and I would guess Lauren Stevens,
Yep,
Heather
sure.
Jackson.
Yep.
Um, it could be the start of Unbound or uh, um, I don't know, a BWR versus a road race versus like Tour of California where it was, Discovery Team and Radio Shack and whoever else. I'm drawing a blank on team net, but it's not. It's different than your UCI kind of race, but it's I don't know. It's UCI kind of course. So
Hmm.
tell me about that dynamic because it is interesting to me.
Well, I like to think I'd like to think that we're kind of like paving the way for road and creating a new model for the U.S.
Hmm.
And by that I mean, it's a lower barrier to entry. You're seeing a lot of individuals come to race this, and we have this crazy mix of like domestic pro road teams like Project Echelon, the best gravel riders in the Lifetime Grand Prix like Keegan Swenson or Sophia. And then we have some road past World Tour riders coming from Europe to ride. Luke Lamperti, who's currently on Soudal Quickstep, he'll be there. So it's a intersection of all these different athletes to come and race on the road, and we have tried to create a format that should be fair for everybody, whether they're on a team or they're individual, meaning that we have aid stations that are neutral, so they can't have personal support there. There's no follow cars. Everybody has to be self-supported, but we are providing bottle hand ups, so it's just a quick grab and go. And then there is one aid station where personal support is allowed. So we're trying to create a balance of low costs, lower barrier to entry. I mean, we're not allowing anyone to just get into the elite field. I personally want to create a certain level of ability, and that has to do with safety first and foremost, legitimacy of the event. I want this to be something that is for the elites, and there's certainly a way to work your way into that. You can come and do the Fondo, and if you want to get out there and rip up the growler with the Fondo riders and see what time you can do, that could certainly qualify you to get in the elites in a year after that. So I guess getting back to it, this is just something we're taking a stab at and trying to reinvigorate road racing in the U.S. by doing this, because we've seen so many events die out. Tour California, Tour Utah, USA Pro Challenge, they're all gone. So let's try to find an event that is sustainable. I mean, putting on a road race in the U.S. is really difficult.
For sure.
The traffic control and the safety aspect, it's not easy.
100% accurate. 100% accurate. I'm curious today what grade you would give road racing in America. A, B, C, D, or F?
Well, I mean, that feels like I'm putting I mean, I don't want to put the blame on anyone, but it is what it is, and I think like I said before, it ebbs and flows. I don't know if it's just the fact that traffic control is to blame. I think that is part of it. I think that's why you've seen this shift to gravel, where theoretically there's less traffic, and I think events have kind of leaned on the fact that they don't have to control traffic as much, but I do think that there probably should be some more safety in most gravel events, and I think that they're finding that out, and they'll probably adjust. But
yep. I won't disagree with anything you just said there.
Yeah. So, but I understand why that happened. I love to ride gravel roads for that reason. I don't have to worry about cars. I mean, it is a thing when you're on the road. You're a little worried about traffic.
Yep.
So, yeah, it certainly isn't what it was 15 years ago. Road cycling in the U.S. But we could use some more events. We could use some guys succeeding at the high end of the sport. But we have somebody leading Paris-Nice right now, and I hope that has an effect on the younger generation. But I also think that the Growler and Levi's Gran Fondo can provide that, because there could be the next Matteo Jorgensen that comes and rides in the Fondo this year, and he gets to watch Keegan and Pete and Sarah Sturm and Heather Jackson compete, and that's inspiring for that young kid. In fact, Luke Lamperti rode the Gran Fondo when he was 8 years old in 2010. 10 or 11, I forget the year. But we have a photo with him. He's just, he's in a jersey. It's too big on him. It's flapping around. And there's a picture of me in my Quick Step kit with my arm around Luke. And now Luke is on Quick Step. So I think that's kind of proof right there of what can happen with the right event.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I intentionally said in America because you're absolutely right. We've got some all-stars over in Europe right now. But certainly the road racing scene, I just even know in the Midwest, like it's harder to find a road race to go to every weekend. There used to be, you could hit 2 races every weekend within 4-hour drive of wherever you were. And now it's like, there's like 4 races all year.
Yeah.
But I like your model.
Demand for it, though.
What's
like
that?
You said, I think there's a demand for it.
And I like your model. I like that it's a different format than, Cat 1, 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5. You do have the elite, which you have to kind of earn. And I also kind of heard you say that a 60-year-old guy like me has a chance to make the elite if I rip up the Gran Fondo this year.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but holding that to a certain level makes a lot of sense. But it's also not a world tour thing. You're not limiting it to you know Astana and UAE and Yumbo and et cetera, and EF. It's open to Pete Stetina,
Hmm.
et cetera, et cetera.
Well, but it's open to someone besides Pete. I mean, Pete was on the world tour, so I think that we could use a better example. There's an 18-year-old kid from Virginia who he sends in. He wants to, and I've been doing this. People have been sending in resumes, and I look at their resumes, and I can see that they have experience racing at well-known events. They have good results, and so I believe that they can handle their bike in a fast-moving peloton down technical descents, and so I grant them approval, and that's their chance.
That's awesome. I love that. I think that's a great model. I think that's I, if like you started the Gran Fondo trend here in the States, maybe you'll start a road racing trend like that here in the States. And
I do think I hope other organizers, especially some gravel organizers, because it's not too much of a stretch to put on a road race. I mean, it does require more traffic control. We do have a large CHP bill
yeah,
that
I bet.
we have to
I
pay
bet
every
you
year.
do.
Yeah,
Um,
but safety is our number one priority. So
yeah, for
we have.
sure. I also think that one of I mean, certainly we loved watching Tour California, um, loved watching USA Pro Challenge. Like that was a great race, and I lived in Boulder for a bit, so I knew all those roads, and I just loved watching that. Um, Philly, the Philly races, the like all this stuff that was going on here in the U.S. We loved watching. We don't have that chance so much anymore,
Right.
but on April 19th we will.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Tell me about that. How'd that come to be? You're streaming
So
the elite
uh,
races
we
live.
we So we this year we have a new partner, Fari Diener with Skipstone Winery. Just loves cycling, really believes in what we've been trying to do with the growler and the elite field and how that can inspire the next generation and inspire our Fondo riders to come and participate, experience Sonoma County, drink wine from Skipstone or whatever winery they choose. And through this process we just felt like, okay, we've got this huge prize purse, split evenly between the men and the women, $78,000 total each, $25,000 a winner, all the way down to 10th place, $1,000. It's the biggest prize list in the world, by the way. I looked it up. Even Paris-Roubaix doesn't have that much money.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Huh. That's
Which
crazy.
it's great, but it's also like, really.
Right, for sure.
I mean, I'm not counting the Tour de France. I'm talking about one day races. But
Okay.
anyway, we just were like, you know what, we need to take this to the next level, because if we really want to bring the most value to our sponsors, to our event, to our cause with at-risk youth, and to the athletes, we need people to be able to see this thing. And I got to tell you, we started down this road, and we've settled on the best moto crew, and we've settled on the best production crew, and we put them together, and it is so detail oriented, and it's taken a lot of our time, and it's been really exciting. I've learned a lot about this process, and we're going to have, I believe, the best coverage you've seen since Tour of California, since USA Pro Challenge. And it's quite an undertaking. We have 6 motorbikes. Each motorbike has what's called a live view unit that houses 8 SIM cards and a Starlink. And
Oh,
so at any one point, if the cell service goes out, they can use the Starlink. But if there is cell service, it can take the data and it splits it between all of the SIM cards sends it to a production studio in Colorado. They cut it up, they add the graphics, they feed it right into YouTube. The commentators are getting that feed, so it's all going to one studio, and yeah, it goes out live to YouTube instantly. It's really crazy.
That is
So yeah,
absolutely crazy.
6 motos, 3 for the men, 3 for the women. We want to be able to show as much as the race as possible because that's dynamic.
Hmm.
It's exciting for the viewer. We'll have a couple of drones in the sky. We have a finish line camera and we have a camera on the commentators. So we have like 10 or 11 feeds going to the production studio, and they're choosing between each camera what to show to give the commentators something to talk about. And yeah, like I said, it's going to be shown live at the venue on a big screen, some smaller screens around the festival, and anyone can view it. It starts 11 a.m. Pacific time, April 19th, right at levisgrandfondo.com. And
Perfect.
it's free. You know, we didn't want to put it behind a paywall. We want the most eyeballs on this thing as possible. Like I said, it's the best for our sponsors, it's the best for the athletes, it's the best for the event, and it's the best for at-risk youth and the King Ridge Foundation.
You've done this dog and pony show because you answered every question that I had about it. Men and women equal. How the
Yeah.
heck are you? I mentioned that you mentioned Project Echelon, and good friend of mine, Matt Zimmer. I mentioned I was chatting with you, and he says to say hi.
Oh, hi.
Um,
Nice.
and he's like, "How are they doing that? That's such a remote race."
Yeah.
Starlink.
Starlink. It's pretty crazy. Starlink Mini on a pole mounted flat because Carlos has already gone out and tested the Starlink Mini on the entire route. And when it's normally those things are mounted at an angle,
Yep.
but when the motorbike is in this, the geysers is our last climb. It's the crucial point in the race. No cell service. And if it's mounted at an angle, sometimes it's pointed at the hillside and it doesn't work.
Oh,
It
sure.
has to be mounted flat. It's yeah, we've really worked out the details, and I really hope it pays off.
Huh, that's super impressive.
Hmm.
And all the way to finish. So, how many miles will that be? 11 a.m. Pacific. They've started at 7 a.m.
The
So
men
they're,
start at 7:30, so they have their own start. The women start at 7:35. They have their own start. As of now, I think we have 80 men. We have 70 women, and again, quality field. Like, definitely deserve to be there. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be, I think, a tight race. You know, this course is super tough, so it's going to break up. There's going to be groups. There's going to be people everywhere, but we're going to try to show as much of it as we can and show how amazing Sonoma County is. Like, you know, I said before, I believe, and I like to call myself an authority on this. It's the best road riding in the U.S. It's just incredible.
oh, well, I'm sure you've put some miles in there.
Yeah, well, I've ridden all over the world, so I feel like I'm an authority on it.
You have a right to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that for sure. Um, so that's April 19th. Starts
Hmm.
at 11 a.m. Pacific. So
Hmm.
do your own math wherever you live, and it's levisgrandfondo.com. The Growler, the 138-mile elite men and women, 3 cameras each. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, three moto cameras each, couple drones each.
Oh, yeah.
Static finish line camera and a camera on the commentators.
Yeah. I'm going to
Matt's
be
team.
anxious to watch just to see what you pull off.
Yeah,
Like I
pressure's
want to
on.
watch the race, but I want to see how this comes out. That's a
Yeah.
great. No helicopters.
No helicopters. You know, in this day and age, you don't need it. Like Starlink is kind of takes care of that
Yeah.
because they used to be it's actually helicopters, but above them is an airplane. Like Tour de France has an airplane
Right.
that they beam it up to, and that's to get around any sort of gaps in cell coverage.
Yeah.
You know, an airplane, then you're talking about a seven-figure budget.
For
We don't
sure.
have
Yeah.
that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Um. Uh. Did you try and get Phil Liggett and Bob Roll?
We did not. No.
That's
We,
okay. I think
yeah.
that's okay. He's put his time in for sure.
I did talk. I did have a call with Bob though, and I was picking his brain about some things. And
Did yours and
um,
Bob's careers overlap?
oh God, no! Come on.
Oh, I guess I'm dating myself. Never mind.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I answer like that. Hopefully that Bob will see this, and that's a little dig at him.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, he's a great.
I love it.
Everybody loves Bob.
Oh, for sure. He's a great dude. I watched him win Vail Criterium in
Oh
probably
wow,
1986 in
Course
Coors
Classic.
Classic. Yeah, kind of fun.
That's cool.
I mean,
Oh, so he did
those
win
are
a
the old
bike.
days. What's that?
So he did win a bike race.
One. Um,
Yeah.
just a stage. Just a
Yeah.
stage. They gave it to him.
The Vale crit, that must have been hard.
It wasn't as hilly as you might imagine. Yeah, they might have had to crawl out of town a little bit, but
Okay.
there was a lot of flat.
Well, I'll tell you the most painful time trial I ever did was the Vale Pass time trial.
Oh, I bet from Vale up,
Hmm.
dude, that was brutal.
It's really brutal.
It's it's not flat. In the
Like,
cores? No.
no,
Oh,
no,
and the
USA Pro Challenge.
U.S. Pro Challenge. Yeah, yep,
Yeah,
of
I
course.
beat I beat Christian Vandeveld by 0.16 of a second.
Whew,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, I think that still stings him.
I'm gonna call in if he's on the Tour de France thing. I'm gonna be, hey, what's your most painful memory as a bike racer?
Yeah,
Probably be that.
hopefully it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you still riding? How much you look in good shape?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I live in Lake Tahoe, and
Oh, right.
yeah,
You're
so
skiing
not a
right
lot of,
now.
yeah, I'm on cross country skis most days. That's my replacement for riding the bike in the winter.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Um, do you downhill ski at all?
Less and less.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotten crowded. I
Uh,
actually, right behind me is Palisades Tahoe Resort. I'm
hmm.
like half a mile from the bottom of it. Um, and when I first moved here, I did like 80 days a year on the mountain, and
Oh
it's
wow.
just kind of, since then gone downhill.
Listen, man.
You
I
know
just
what? In
turned.
fact, one of the last days I skied was with Bob Roll here.
Oh no way. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling you this as over 50 guy. I just turned 60 this year, and I just nailed riding rails.
Oh, wow.
So you're never
Good
too
for
old to
you.
learn.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I got a bunch
Shut
of
up.
teenagers that have taken me under their wing, and
Yeah.
I'm their old man. But you're
Wait,
never too
so
old to learn.
I mean, you're in Iowa.
We got a little hill, two chairlifts, and
And you
maybe
have
it's a 150-foot drop.
and there's a terrain park.
That's all there is to do. I mean, that's why you do terrain. I love going out west, hitting the bumps, the steeps, the deeps, all that stuff. The back bowls, like I love that stuff. We don't have that option in Iowa, but we've got
Yeah.
rails and we've got some jumps. So
Do you
that's
have
what
any
you do.
Nordic trails?
What's that?
Do you have any Nordic skiing trails? Cross country ski trails?
For like 3 days a year,
Oh,
maybe. I mean,
yeah.
we literally had one snow that maybe we got 6 inches, and
Mhm.
then that went away after 5 days, and then we got
Yeah.
3 inches, and they couldn't groom anything. But now you got to drive to do anything Nordic. Roller
Okay.
skis. We've got paved
Yeah.
trails, so we have roller skis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, a lot of them.
That's scary.
That is scary. I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah.
Uh, I gotta ask, do you still shave your legs?
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will
I
always ride my bike and enter at least one race a year so I can justify shaving my legs.
I guess if I let it grow out, it could get to the point where it would be okay, but I don't want to go through that process.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I hate having hairy legs.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
agree.
well, listen, do you get to ride that day? Your Gran Fondo? Do you actually get to get out there on a bike and?
Yeah, typically, I like I said before, I do it's called the geysers route.
Mhm.
So it's like 80 miles, 4,000 feet of climbing. But it is getting harder and harder. So I might have to downgrade to a shorter route because, I am involved in the live coverage, and I want to make sure it goes very smoothly. So I might have to get back to the festival a little earlier than I normally do.
I
But
was going to say, are you getting there after dark or
oh, no, 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 not
are you
that.
still
It's
fast? Can you still hang with the kids?
Oh, I can still beat the kids.
Yeah, attaboy. All right, cool, cool. It is tough to do your own event, that's for sure. So,
Yeah. And I want to start with everybody and have that experience and roll out. And that's the most important thing. And then get back and just try to be a part of the festival, the live coverage, and be a part of the team. So
yeah.
we'll see.
Well, we are fortunate that you said yes, and that you obviously have a good team behind you. Otherwise, you would not be able to get on your bike that day. So you've obviously got a good crew putting this thing
Exactly.
together,
Yeah.
and we all appreciate it. And I'm super stoked to see the live coverage and watch the racing.
Yeah. I mean, I hope you tune in, and I hope your viewers tune in, and it's going to be year one for this, so hopefully it comes off successful, and we're all happy.
I was gonna say, hopefully it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start with a low bar. Like, hopefully we can get this out the door and people can
Oh
watch
no,
it.
we forgot to order internet provider. Uh-oh.
Right. No. Take your lens cap off. Don't put it
Yeah.
on. Yeah, that's fun. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's been fun to chat and talk a little bit about the old days, and certainly
Yeah.
that's my time growing up as a cyclist. So,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, for sure. And good luck on April 19th.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, and yeah, maybe afterwards we'll do a recap.
All right, I'd love that.
Okay.
Well, that was a real treat. Levi was super fun to talk to, both about his racing days and about Levi's Gran Fondo. Be sure and tune in on April 19th to levisgranfondo.com to catch all the action. I'm super thrilled about that. Well, thank you again for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Of course, if you did, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I would for sure love it if you would rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support the show financially, please feel free to drop some coins in the cup at buymeacoffee.com. Just look for Bike Talk with Dave. And I got to thank Kate, Julie, Steve, Clint, Doug, Casey, and Dave for buying me a coffee. It really helps with the ongoing expenses that make it possible to record and host this show. I truly appreciate it. And one more thing, be sure to give this show a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can find and stream every episode at biketalk.bike. Now, I hope you have a great week. Keep riding, and remember that nothing compares with the simple pleasure of riding a bicycle.